Idriss B, thank you so much for joining us at the World Art Dubai, the 6th edition of this event, and we're having a very socially distanced chat. We can remove our masks just for the duration when we're talking, so this is the first event of its kind post-COVID. Is it good to be restarting events?
Yeah, well, it's like a back to life event, So especially for Dubai, like there is so many events that is going on usually, so it's kind of refreshing, to see having a normal life.
How has COVID affected the art industry globally, do you think?
Well, it's simply stopped everything. Like for me, I was supposed to have quite a lot of events, and everything is just locked since 9 months. So my next event was supposed to be Park Avenue in New York City, and everything is just stopped during a couple of months.
It is good to see people are out and about and adhering to safety guidelines. What have been the challenges of coming and exhibiting somewhere like this?
The main one was literally having a mask and working on everything. That was because of the heat, because of everything, that was the most biggest challenge. The rest is more about, social distancing, but now everybody is just used to it. Like, we're just following the rules since couple of months now, so it's a habit.
How did you get into art? Because I believe you were a bit sick and you were drawing and then you kind of trained.
After a trip in US, I had a disease called the gut, and I got stuck to bed. And it was fun for the first week, second week, but the third one, you're just killing yourself. I was like redrawing a little bit, and I was like, okay, now I have nothing to do, so that could be a good moment for me to make my own pieces, which I wanted to do since a while. So that's how it started, and I took a big block of clay and I started sculpting it in the middle of the bed. So it was funny. Then what I did is that I did that first piece. I showed it to my wife, and she was like, "Wow, I love it." While usually for art, she's not really like interested. I was like, "Oh, if she's saying that it's good, that might be something." So I started first with the gorilla. Second one that I did was a tiger, and then little by little I showed it to friends, and they were like, "Oh, who did that? I want to buy it." I was like, that's me. They were like, what, really? So this is how it started.
Talk me through the process, from your kind of inspiration of your drawing and then how you actually, because they're made of fiberglass and
resin.
So talk me through the process.
So actually, now it's been more than 5 years I'm doing it. And at the beginning, it was sculpting by clay, like literally like old school. And now we have 3D printings and all those kind of things. So now what I'm doing is at first I draw it by hand with just on paper, like a 2D paper. And just to get the right emotion, right pose of the animal. And then I make it in 3D, which then I 3D print. I make a mold out of it. Usually I modify this one because what you think in your mind and what you draw, and it's not the same as in real. So I modify a little bit the position of the legs, the polygon size, those kind of things. And then I make a mold out of it when I'm really satisfied with everything. And then I do the pieces with fiberglass and resin.
As a French Tunisian, being brought up in Paris, how did that influence your work?
It's multicultural. So especially now as I'm, back to a Middle East, let's say, Muslim country, the culture is really similar. Even though like North Africa is a little bit different because, Mediterranean is the same a little bit than Italy, Greece, Spain. So it's a multicultural environment. And I was born in the 80s. And at that time, it's all about video games, Japanese things. It's the discovery of everything. Like this is where really, like we all discovered how Japan is advanced and everything. So this influenced me a lot. And then I went to China for living, and literally like a completely different culture, different things that you see, different way of doing things.
Do you think that you found a home in Dubai for your artwork? Because we see it dotted around the city here. Why is it such a natural fit here?
Well, it's very urban. So usually urban is kind of scary and, let's say, unhuman feeling, It's a lot of glass, a lot of metal, a lot of concrete. So having those pieces, even though it's made of fiberglass and resin, like I try to make it like with pop colors. And it makes the place being alive. So I have to say, like I was not prepared for such, let's say, a desire for it.
How important do you think the art industry is here in the UAE and in Dubai specifically?
It's pretty pushed because, art is a bit different than the rest of the material stuff because you can buy a lot of things, but art is more about creative.
Yeah.
And it gives emotion also. So you don't touch it. You feel it, you don't touch it. So that's why also I believe it's so important for them and for UAE in general, because that is, before I came, that is a lot of what people told me. Like,
why do you think art is so universal, and I guess in what has been a really difficult year globally, why, people need art in their lives?
well, of course, it's depending on kind of art, but at the end of the day, it's only about emotion. So it gives you a feeling, no matter if it's a good one or not a good one, it's always make you feel something. So you can not liking it, but you felt something. And I think that's what people have been really sensitive about, especially with this time, because with the COVID, a lot of people got back to themselves. They were alone in their home, or with their couple, and so it made them a lot of time to think about it. And so they came back to art because they realized how important it is to have a nice home, have your nest, And so they are going to buy new paintings that makes them feeling something special. So I think that's why it's so important, art. Like, it gives you really feelings.
What are your thoughts on art being used for social or political motivation?
Well, that's a good question, because I just did a piece for Black Lives Matters.
Yeah.
And so that's definitely into me. So yeah, I mean, art at the end of the day, it's about giving, either it's about sharing emotion, either it's about giving the visions that you have. And when I saw all the things that was happening with Black Lives Matters, I was like, I have to do something. If I can do something, I would like to do something, So I'm not going to go to US to protest, but if I can do something on my own, that could be nice. And so I came up with the idea of having a special sculpture dedicated to that, and giving them all the money that I will receive from it.
You're originally from Tunisia. You're based in Tunisia now, temporarily at the moment. What are your thoughts on how COVID is affecting your home country?
Well, it cannot be worse than now. So that's a good thing. That's no, honestly. I mean, sometimes I'm wondering, like, how does a country even turning? Because you're like, that can't be worse. Like, government is not really working, economy is not really working, no tourists. Now the borders are closed. So I believe they're just trying to find their way, the best way possible that is working.
Idriss, thank you so much for talking to us today.
Very welcome. It was a pleasure. Hope you'll enjoy the show.